Kylian Mbappe wants to leave PSG as early as January. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Today we're talking about the big breaking news, the massive bombshell that's been dropped on PSG by their superstar talisman, Kylian Mbappe, that he wants to leave the club as soon as possible. We're going to be talking all about this big breaking news story, the report that goes along with it, and everything else that goes along with this story. But before we do and go any further, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things always incredibly greatly appreciated. But for now, let's get into the video, because this is obviously a massive breaking news story, a potential groundbreaking, ground shifting, whatever you want to call it, potential transfer in the making. We of course know about the Mbappe saga for a while. We were talking about this last summer, in which obviously it looked like for a while he was going to be walking to Real Madrid on a free transfer. There was seemingly a verbal agreement. Everything was in place for Mbappe to be soon to be officially made a Real Madrid player, and then a massive U-turn happened. A new contract was drew up by PSG. It offered Mbappe all of these lucrative and luxurious and mad and bizarre promises, and he signed. And now it appears that everything has blown up in PSG's face, because allegedly the French superstar has turned to the club and said that he wants to now leave yet again. The report that accommodates this is from Mario Cortigana. Now, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He is a Spanish journalist of a Spanish news outlet, so again, maybe take a little bit of pinch of salt with that. Obviously, the Spanish journalist and Spanish journalism in general, when it comes to these kind of big transfers or potential big transfer stories, like to stir the pot a little bit, obviously because there's a bit of bias involved, but we'll see how this one turns out, because I wouldn't put it past this one to be legitimate. He came out with his article. He basically stated that Mbappe has exploded on PSG by saying that he wants to leave the club as soon as possible, and that he is ready to do so and go to Real Madrid. His article states that Mbappe's already asked to leave PSG as early as January. He states that Mbappe feels betrayed by PSG. All of them crazy and bizarre promises, some of them have not been fulfilled or met by Mbappe's standards. And it goes on to suggest that PSG actually this time would be open to selling Mbappe, partially I think because obviously they get money out of it this time rather than obviously letting him go on a free transfer. But there is one condition, and that one condition is they don't want to sell him to Real Madrid. This is where Liverpool's name gets dropped into the article. Liverpool have always been lingering in the background in this Mbappe saga for as long as I can remember. But of course, given Liverpool's current situation, how poor they are right now and everything else, I think there are higher priorities at stake for the Reds. And although that signing Mbappe seemed unlikely even last summer, despite the fact that Liverpool did allegedly try, it seems even more unlikely now given the current situation and everything else that goes along with it. Now back to obviously PSG and Real Madrid. The reason why PSG do not want to sell him to Real Madrid, tensions have been brewing between these two entities for a while. We know that obviously the Super League PSG weren't a big fan of the Super League, which of course Real Madrid president Florentino Perez was a massive advocate of, founder of, and obviously was pretty much the face of. So that doesn't help. There was obviously, of course, the Mbappe saga of the summer, in which, like I said before, Mbappe had seemingly a verbal agreement to join Real Madrid, and PSG shut that down completely, offered him a new contract, all of these mad promises and everything else that went along with it. Madrid weren't happy with Mbappe, they weren't happy with PSG. They thought maybe PSG were cheating FFP or something along those lines. They didn't really like how things quickly turned against them in that kind of situation. So tensions have been kind of high between these two for a while. You could also maybe add a factor in that maybe Real Madrid are big big enemies, if you like, in terms of competitors for the Champions League title this year. Lots of things maybe that goes on between those two as to why PSG wouldn't like to sell Mbappe to Real Madrid. However, in saying all of that, it does appear that Mbappe does want that Real Madrid move. He does want to play in that famous white of Real Madrid. He does want that move, and it's really now a question of what PSG do. The ball is seemingly in PSG's court. It does seem that Mbappe's laid his cards out on the table. He wants that move to PSG. He wants out of wants that move to Real Madrid. He wants out of PSG. PSG now have an ultimatum. Do they keep an unhappy player, run down his contract, lose him on a free transfer in 2024 to inevitably Real Madrid, it seems, or do they come up with some sort of deal for him and just sell him on to Real Madrid? Because I don't see any other club having the resources, the finances, or the club history, the lineage, and everything else that goes along with that Real Madrid do, that would entice or attract Mbappe to go anywhere else. So it seems it's going to be Real Madrid or nothing, and that will happen whether it happens as soon as possible, which is what Mbappe seemingly wants, or somewhere down the line in 2024 when his contract is set to expire. It's going to be interesting to see where this whole situation works out. It was always going to be highly volatile though. Let's face it, when you make the kind of incredibly insane promises that PSG did to Mbappe in order to try and keep him at the club and obviously keep that famous and scary front three of Mbappe, Messi and Neymar together, and everything that obviously goes along with Mbappe being a young French superstar and everything else that goes along with that, it was always going to be a highly volatile situation that was always had the high risk of potentially blowing up, because let's face it, those were some mad promises. He was basically given part ownership of the club. He was giving a higher status than any player should really have. He became bigger than the club. And when you have that, you're only fueling and increasing the ego, the big-headedness, and everything else that goes along with that. And from what we've seen and from what we've heard, what we've seen on the football pitch and what we've heard behind the scenes that have been going on, all these kind of rumours and reports and everything about how Mbappe's conducted himself since signing that new mega money, mega rich and lucrative deal, it seems like his ego is only fueled, but in a horribly toxic sort of way. You know, the infamous clip of him giving up a run because the ball wasn't passed to him in when he wanted it. You know, little bits and pieces like that. Being a bit selfish when he's got the ball on the pitch, and all of those kind of things. It just seems to be a very kind of toxic sort of, just some sort of very toxic kind of thing that's been presented to Mbappe, and it's kind of changed him for the worse, it seems. And don't get me wrong, he's still a phenomenal talent. He's still an exceptional talent for a player of his age and everything else that goes along with that. His goal scoring record's phenomenal. He's doing it now on a European stage as well. He's obviously a former World Cup winner with France. He's obviously won numerous French league titles, including one with his former club Monaco, of course, and everything like that. He's going to go on to become one of the most decorated players in world football. Whether that happens at PSG or not remains to be seen, obviously, depending on how this whole situation resolves itself and works out. It will happen. He's got to add Champions League titles to his name, but that will obviously happen. It could happen with PSG still. There is the potential and possibility to that, because they've thrown so much money at it that you would imagine that eventually it will work out. There is obviously the case that it could definitely or more likely happen at Real Madrid, because it's in Real Madrid's lineage and their history and in their blood and everything. it's going to happen. He's going to become one of the most decorated players. He's going to get plenty of goals. He's going to get smash many records. He's obviously an influential figure to have both on and off the pitch. May not be necessarily for all the good or the bad reasons. A little bit of grey in between. He's a phenomenal player to have at your disposal on or off the pitch. But with what PSG have seemingly created here, it's their own problem, their own fault with everything that they've given him. It's created this Mbappe that we're seeing right now going forward. It's just going to be interesting to see how this whole thing resolves itself. It seems inevitable that he's going to become a Real Madrid player, but it's whether or not PSG they cave in completely to his demand, and like I say, they sort out a deal with Real Madrid, because like I say, no one has the history or the resources or the finances that they have in order to secure this deal, so that's going to probably happen, and he wants that move anyway. Or whether it's going to be a couple of years down the line where he's free to leave of his own accord on a free transfer. It's just what happens in the meantime. Do PSG cave in? Do they sort out a deal? Or do they run down his contract? Do they run down as much as they can out of him on the pitch and just give him to Real Madrid? It's going to be very interesting to see what the future holds for Mbappe, for PSG, and for Real Madrid and everybody else that's involved in this, because, like I say, highly volatile situation. It was always going to be a high-risk situation when you offer him the kind of stuff that he was offered, and now it's all coming back to haunt PSG. All coming back to haunt Mbappe as well, who decided to take PSG up on their offer rather than go on and show what some would say would be more ambition and maybe more of a bigger sight of the bigger picture, shall we say. But either way, it's going to make for a very intriguing saga going forward. One that we now can, if everything obviously is right with this, and it is obviously a legitimate kind of story and everything, one that we can probably say has an inevitable conclusion, but one that we don't actually know when that conclusion will hit. But like I said, I think it's only a matter of time before Kylian Mbappe is going to be at the Bernabeu with Real Madrid as a future Real Madrid player. Whether that happens in the next 6 months, the next year, or in the next couple of years, we'll have to wait and see. But these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feeling. Oh, by the way, before I say anything, I'm not getting my hopes up with the whole Liverpool thing. I know they were mentioned in the article, like I said. Not getting my hopes up whatsoever. No point. He wants Real Madrid. Real Madrid probably still want him, if that is obviously to be the case. He will be a Real Madrid player. There's no point getting excited. We've got bigger problems right now. But like I say, these are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of the whole Kylian Mbappe situation? What do you make of the article that came out today? Him wanting to leave. When will he leave? Will he go to Real Madrid? Do Real Madrid still want him? Everything else that goes along with that. I'd love to read your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings down below in the comment section. Short and long, interesting reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up, enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new, want to see more content like this. Both things are always greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I'll see you all again soon in another video.